Welcome everyone and to today's SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on how to develop the perfect value proposition for your business. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator today and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host, and our presenter today is Sue Yasav, and more on Sue in just a minute, but first some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA, and locally here in SCORE Fairfield County, we have over 130 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. And we offer three primary value-added services to small business owners that you can see on the screen here. We offer one-on-one business mentoring, and you can do that by video, telephone, or email. And you can access it by clicking on the yellow link that you see on the screen, that bit.ly link, or you can go to our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, and click the Request a Mentor link. Secondly, we offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars, about 150 throughout the year. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including tools and access to subject matter experts. And again, you can access those at our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. Our next live webinar will be tomorrow, Tuesday, March 16th at noon. And the topic is Instagram for your business with Nalini Gulzaran presenting. And you can find more specifics again on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. And if you're on our website, you'll also be able to see a wide range of archived webinars that you can access on demand. Just some logistics on today's webinar. We have set aside time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. And if you have a question, please use the chat feature, and you can access that by hovering on the bottom of your screen and clicking on chat, and you can submit your question in there at any time during the presentation, and Sue will take them at the end. Our webinar will end sharply at 1 o'clock today, and the session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available on our website within about 48 hours. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Sue Yasav. Sue is the founder of Marquette Marketing, a firm that specializes in value proposition design. Previously, Sue led the value proposition process at GE Capital, setting goals, executing customer research, and leading financial modeling. She used this process to execute a go-to-market strategy for clients and track results. She has also published white papers, infographics, and articles on value proposition design, and has presented at dozens of conferences, webinars, and podcasts on this topic. Sue, it's all yours.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Bob. And thank you to SCORE. I know I've had a SCORE mentor for a little over 2 years now, and I find it very, very valuable. It's a wonderful organization. So, okay, let me introduce myself. Once again, I'm Sue Yasav, and I have been doing value propositions for about 10 years now. My value proposition role at GE Capital encompassed doing value propositions on site for retailers, and we created a process of how to come up with the best value proposition for a retail business. And at that point, I realized that this can really carry over to a lot of different organizations and business entities. It's not just for retail. This process can span across many different business lines. So at that point, I wrote a white paper and an infographic about how businesses can develop their own value proposition. So before we get started with that, what is a value proposition? So it's really a set of benefits, services that you offer that can make your company attractive to your customer. So it's the value that you add that adds to your customer and really displays how you're different than your competitors or than anyone else who does the same thing or almost the same thing as you do. So let's take a look at a couple of these value props here on the right side, these brands. And the reason that I call them out is that they all have value propositions, but for very different elements of their business. So let's take WeatherTech. And at this point, you know, if it was an interactive webinar or you could type it in the chat, what is WeatherTech really known for? Let's go up. WeatherTech, their value proposition, yes, they make, if you don't know, they make car mats and a car, the things that protect the inside of the car, the rubber car mats, things like that. But their value proposition is made in America. When they have signs out there, you see WeatherTech liners, made in America. Now, are they the only company that makes products in America? No, but they have decided to make made in America a part of their value proposition. So that's what they stand for. Nike makes their value proposition, yes, is high performance sneakers and athletic gear, but they also stand for diversity. So they have decided that a part of their value proposition is social and a social element of their value prop or diversity, right? So their value prop has their differentiating factor is a little bit different than just high performance athletic gear. Same for Trader Joe's. REI sells outdoor equipment, and their value proposition is get out there, get outdoors. They close on Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving. Don't stay home, get out there, outdoors. And their value propositions is all tied to that. So that's what I want to bring out in this session. Your value prop does not mean that you actually do something different from your competitor. It could be the way you position yourself or your company that is differentiated than how all your other competitors position themselves. Okay, now what is the ideal value prop? It perfectly connects with your target. It solves a customer's pain point, and be careful with delving too much into the pain point. You don't want to scare the customer, because what happens when we are forced to think about our pain point too much, we kind of shift off and redivert into something else. So you do want to make sure that you can address whatever pain your customer may be thinking and looking to hire you, but don't delve into it too much. Don't spend too much time on the pain. It communicates your value. It says, how can I solve the pain point, and how is it going to be valuable to you as a customer? Is unique to you. You've targeted something that is unique, a unique niche in the market, or a unique part of what you do that you can really latch on to articulate the value that you have. And extremely importantly, it differentiates you from the competition. So that results in a marketing message that really resonates across channels. So it resonates across your website, your social media posts, and every way that you can communicate about your business. So all these things can be done through a specific process. So let's delve into how you do that. So steps to create your unique value proposition as a business. And we'll go through these. There are 5 steps. And the first one is hone in on your target market. Really understand what it is about your target that you are positioning for, or that you really want to hone in on to understand. Do some market research, identify the needs and expectations of your target market, do some competitive research, differentiate your company, define your value proposition, and then create your positioning statement. So number 1, identify your market, your target market. So in order to discover who your customer is, you have to display that you understand their needs and their wants, and identify their delighters as well as their pain points. So who are they? Where are they, right? So for instance, if your business is in Connecticut, then you can use a specific communication strategy that's really specific to life in Connecticut. So you can reference things that are very local that customers, your target may think, oh, this company really gets me. They know the merit, right? They know Stu Leonard's or things that may be very specific to Connecticut, and that may be attractive to your target. If they're national, then you may not want to use very local references. Are they predominantly male or predominantly female, or could they be both? You know, some products have uh, customers that are, it doesn't matter. You know, if you have a business, let's say providing massages, you know, both men and women like to get a massage, right? If you have, on the other hand, a product that's a moisturizer or I don't know, fragrant candles or something, it may be more targeting females. So just have that in mind. Generations, age groups. And here I can say, don't force an age group if it doesn't exist. So if your product is really specific to an age, you may want to speak their language, right? In terms of um, what your brand voice is. But if it crosses across age groups, don't force it if it doesn't exist. It has to be, your value proposition really has to be authentic. And then there's socioeconomic status. You know, if you have a very high-end product or a product that is really targeted to affluence, realize that. And the pricing strategy, the communication strategy, and everything has to be targeted to their socioeconomic status. So it's extremely important when you're developing your value proposition to know in a certain amount of detail who the customers are and where they are, all the relevant points. Now, a lot of marketers, you know, like personics, they say, you know, very tiny clusters. They also call them avatars. I'm not a big fan of marketing avatars. I think they're of limited use when you're really speaking about value propositions or positioning statements. But I recognize that having your customer avatar may really crystallize your message for a lot of people. And then what are the factors influencing the purchase of your product or service? So list your theories about what your customers need and want, right? Could be a list of 4 or 5 things based on who they are, what do they need, what do they want, what drives their behavior emotionally, the emotional triggers. We see that in research studies, the emotional triggers can be a very big driver, a lot of times even more important than logical factors like price or location. All right, and then do some research. Now, having said this, I can tell you that even though I say one of the most important things about your value proposition is doing market research, many businesses leave this for the last step or say, well, you know, I don't have time, I don't have the money for market research. But really the thing about market research is it takes the guesswork out of your positioning, your value proposition, and what your customer wants from you as a business. So 3 different ways to do market research. We'll go from least expensive to most expensive. So the least expensive is, of course, tapping into what's already out there. So the larger the market research areas are more that are free or more the macro environment for your industry, the industry that you operate in. So a couple of resources here. When I did macro research, futuristic trends for Synchrony, I really focus, I went on Pew Research a lot, and I gave you the website here, pewresearch.com, and that delves into societal trends, you know, some research is really now very much about, the front page of Pew Research is very much about coronavirus and vaccinations and politics and all of that. But there are also other things as well. There's a big article right now on Pew Research that says more millennials are living at home with their parents now than at any time since the Great Depression. And that may be interesting to your business. You may use that for some kind of targeting tool or for your value proposition, depending on what you do. The other is US Census. I think if you log into census.gov, it has a huge amount of data by geography. You can go into Connecticut. How many people are under 18 in Connecticut? How many people are over 65? What are the growth rates? Couple of things. It's a little bit hard to navigate, and the data is not exactly current. Pew Research is data that was pulled maybe a month ago. Census, you're lucky to get anything before 2018, 2019. So, be careful with the data. Make sure you understand exactly what year it was, the survey was produced. But it's very good for relational data. So, are the growth rates going up? Are they going down? Are the population trends for, let's say you're targeting baby boomers, right? Are baby boomers, their populations going up or going down in Connecticut? Things like that is very helpful. Things like which towns have the most affluent customers. The census can be very helpful. And then market research. Now, this is quantitative market research is really what we think about when we say market research, right? It's a market research study. It's a survey. So some survey tools, the most popular is SurveyMonkey. It's simple. Certain aspects of it are free. It is just a simple online survey tool where you could design surveys yourself. It has templates you can use. So the challenge there is to really send it to a representative sample of those who would become your target customer. So that is very, very key. You don't want to be a person who sells shoes, women's high heel shoes, and get survey results from, men farmers, let's say, right? So you want to be able to ask questions of your target audience that you can use. So another hint, include response incentives. Every responder to the survey will get an entry to a gift certificate or something like that. So, because we all know we get tons of surveys every day, right? So you want to give a little bit of an incentive to answer the survey. And it's great for objective and quantified results, right? You have the answers, there's no arguing with it. And the ideal survey feedback is when the answer is clear. 60 to 80% of your responders say one thing and not another thing, right? Then you have your answer. The way to set up a survey questionnaire, minimum of 5 minutes, which usually means you can only get 8 or 9 questions in there. Never ask a question unless you're going to act on it. Survey questions are very important because the longer your survey takes, the fewer people are going to answer it. No leading questions. No questions like, would you pay more for my service? Would you pay more if I did this? They may not want to pay you for your core service. Why would they pay you more for an added service? Things like that is why you need, you really need to know what you're doing with a market research survey. And NPS, very famous question, would you recommend? Would you recommend, so this is for existing customers that have used your service, would you recommend our product and service to a friend or colleague? Very famous survey question, and that is the #1 indicator on customer satisfaction, according to a lot of studies. All right, and the last survey tool, qualitative surveys. So this may mean a phone survey, a focus group. So qualitative surveys, and I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but they're really important to tap into the emotional drivers, new ideas. What would you change about my business? What would, what's the last time something happened that upset you about my business? What are the new ideas that you can come up with? All of those types of questions are perfect for qualitative surveys. And again, as the name suggests, you don't have data, but you have insights for these kinds of surveys. All right. And then identify theories about what will drive your consumers' behavior. So this is a chart that really identifies retail value propositions, right? So I'm going to address the upper right. Let's say you have a high-end jewelry store, fine jewelry. It's a high touch and exclusive customer experience. So you're on the upper right of this quadrant. What do customers expect if you have a high touch, exclusive customer experience? They expect customer service. They expect a great experience. They expect extremely attentive service staff and higher prices. So that's what they expect, right? So let's go through the other end of the spectrum, the lower left. Mainstream clients with a low touch customer service. What do those shoppers expect? They expect low touch. I'm not going to get very personalized service. The prices are going to be low. So maybe coupons, value, it's all about price. So if you have an expectation on the customer's part that I'm spending a lot of money, they expect a certain value proposition from the organization they're buying from, right? Where JCPenney went off in their strategy was they went from the lower left and all of a sudden overnight, they wanted to evolve to the lower right. The problem is you can't do that overnight. You have a customer expectation at a certain level, and it takes a while to evolve into another quadrant. So that's the thing about what will drive behavior and what do customers expect from your type of service. And beware of segments, because some businesses out there will have certain segments, certain offerings, and the different customers will expect different things based on what you offer. So make sure that's included in your value proposition. All right, so competitive research. And I know we don't like to think about competitors. We like to think that our service is so clear and so much value add that competitors are, not front and center in our customers' mind. But I got to tell you, your customers know about your competitors. So this is how to do some competitive research. First, very simply, go to Google and Google what your business does and where it does it. So for instance, if you're an accountant in Norwalk, Google accountants in Norwalk and see what you come up with. Those are your competitors. Pretend you're the customer looking for your business. Put in that search term and see what businesses pop up. And those are your competitors. So let's say we did that. We accountant in Norwalk, and this happens to be this company, Separac, happens to be an accounting firm in Norwalk, Connecticut. Then go to dnb.com, which is a free business directory, and do a search of your competitors, especially if they're larger businesses. And that will tell you the number of employees, if they're more public company, a number of, sometimes they include revenue, the industries they operate in, geographies, the subsidiaries. So that could be a lot of general information about your competitor and where they are and what they have. There are other tools. So website for startups, Crunchbase, Product Hunt. Websites for online presence, and these are really good. So SEMrush, SpyFu, BuzzSumo, and Owlletter. Try them all out. They really say what your competitors are doing in terms of social media, their online presence, their websites. So a slew of information here. You could go to local business organizations, chambers of commerce, trade organizations, and see who else is there in your service industry. Business contacts, ask around, who would you think of using instead of my service? And the US Chamber of Commerce has a great article out there. You could probably find it when you do a Google search, how to conduct competitive research by US Chamber of Commerce. So it's a, they have a whole, it's a great article, a whole bunch of hints and tips. And so it's very helpful. All right. So you've gathered all this information. Now you know all this stuff about your target, what they want. You've done much market research, competitive analysis. Now, in order to put it all together, I would recommend having a facilitated ideation session. Gather input from the key stakeholders in your company. So is it the chief marketing officer, PR, the strategy person, or is it just you and some of your freelancers, right? But how do you use all this information and put it together in order to come up with a value proposition and solve a pain point, and remember to tap into those emotional drivers? So at the end, your value prop should be a clear statement on what the customer will get from using your service. So it's relevant, differentiated, and credible. So it combines your strengths, competitive gaps, with customer needs, and that perfect intersection is your value prop. So positioning statement. And, I can read this, of course. Clear, compelling, the program should be easy to understand and provide optimal value for the customer. Yes, that is the definition. But I want to take you through an example to really show you the value of a clear positioning statement. All right, so let's say you have a mattress company and they've done competitive research and they've done market research. And they came out with the most important features of buying a mattress are price, comfort, and a money-back guarantee. They start off with a positioning statement, which is not really a positioning statement. It's more like a statement. We sell mattresses. And while it's true, this is not a positioning statement. This is just a fact. They sell mattresses, right? So then they said, we need to do a little better with this. Number 2, we sell mattresses at a good price with a money-back guarantee. Again, better. They took market research, they applied it, and they came up with something they thought was really compelling. But then how about this one? We guarantee to give you the best sleep you've ever gotten at the best price. Now that is the power of a great positioning statement. You've tapped into customer needs and wants, you've used market research, and you came up with an emotional connection to the customer and their needs and wants. So some tips here: test your positioning statement on people who don't know your product. And that's also a tip for knowing if you have a good value prop or not. Go to a meeting and have someone else state your value proposition. If they have it right, you've nailed it. If they don't get it right and you go, that's not what I do, that's not the value I add, you know that your value prop hasn't really resonated. I think I missed something. Oh, there we go. And then go to market research with several positioning statements and see what resonates with your customer. So do the positioning first and then go to market research and see which one, hopefully it's just one, really resonates. All right, and that's it. That's hopefully this has been helpful. I think that the value prop is the beginning, and it can also be an iterative process. You know, maybe you start off with one value proposition and your business evolves where you need to do this value prop work again. You know, we're in a very different environment now. We're just emerging out of COVID. Things may or may not go back to the way they were prior to COVID. So maybe now is the perfect time to work on your value prop.
Okay, thanks, Sue. We do have time for questions. Just a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please use the chat feature. You can just hover on the bottom of your screen, click on chat and submit your questions there, and we'll take as many as we can until the top of the hour. And I will just start with one from Julie. Do you create a positioning statement for each target group?
I try not to. If you have one business, I try to create a positioning statement that encompasses your entire business. You know, if you look at some complicated concept out there, let's say, I don't know if you know Salesforce.com. They have a lot of businesses within Salesforce, right? They address small businesses, large businesses, Fortune 100 clients, and yet they have a unified positioning statement. So that's what I would prefer to see.
Okay, that's great. And so there's a follow-up one when you were talking about surveys that Julie also asked is, where do you get your groups when you do a survey?
The groups meaning the target
Yes,
audience?
who do you send it to? How do you get the names? I think what Julie's thinking.
Yeah, excellent question. First, it depends on if you have an existing business or if you are creating a business. So if you are creating a company from scratch, you would, you know, some of your target could include random population survey respondents out there, right? And SurveyMonkey has this. You could send a survey to a random population, but the more you identify the population, the more valuable the responses get. So you can go out to several survey tools and say, I want to survey affluent people in the Fairfield County area, and it starts costing you more the more targeted you get. So that's how to do a survey for a brand new business. For an existing business, of course, survey your customers. Make sure that when you have customers and clients, you have their email addresses. It's a great way to reconnect with them for loyalty. And it's also a good way to, you know, to put out a survey.
Okay, we have a question here that actually relates to your business, and what is the value proposition for your business?
My business, excellent question again. Marquette does value propositions with clients and also content strategy. So I not only develop value propositions, but I make it come to life in designing websites, content strategy, and eventually ensuring that leaders in their industry become thought leaders. I'm also a specialist in designing thought leadership strategies and content for companies. So that's my value
That's great.
proposition.
And there was a follow-up question from Lynn on that is how did you actually create your own statement?
When I created my my business, it was definitely iterative. I started 2.5 years ago. I worked full time, and I knew that I wanted to create my own marketing company and work for myself. So it went through a series of processes. A lot of times you don't get it immediately. So at first I started with, well, I think I want to become a chief marketing officer, CMO for hire. I know I want to do this for myself, but maybe I'll just do everything about marketing. And then I started to say, you know what, I have certain skill sets and I have certain things that I specialize in. And I started to do a bit of market research, asking around among the skills I have, what really resonates out there and what is the need? And I started seeing that a lot of people really are saying a lot about thought leadership now. And that's the job that I did at Synchrony. So I decided to really niche down my skills and say, this is what I specialize in, and this is what I really want to do for a living.
That's great. I think that's excellent advice. We have one from Matthew on talking or asking about the websites for competitive research that you mentioned. Are they for different sectors like tech startups?
There are a few for tech startups, but I would go in and do some research on all of them. So the first two that I gave are for startups and they're for tech startups. So definitely start logging into them. A lot of times, they're going to want your email and all that, and they're going to market to you, but it's really worthwhile to start, if you're just starting a company, to do a lot of market research and, competitive research, especially.
Okay. Kim has a question and would like your thoughts on the value proposition for her vitamin company.
Okay.
And the value proposition is, we guarantee to give you the high quality and effective vitamin ingredients that strengthen your bones, muscles, and heart you've ever needed. Do you have any thoughts on that as a value proposition?
Yeah, that's great. But not knowing what your target market really values, I would have to look at that. But send me an email. We can talk about it. I would really have to know, like, are those things what your customer is coming to you for?
I think that's
the
certainly
number
fair. You
one.
need to
It
know
doesn't
a lot
matter how
more.
I feel.
Yeah. There's one here from Lynn. Then the question is, how do you manage things when you outgrow your value proposition?
Excellent question. And we recommend usually, when I was at Synchrony, at GE Capital rather, doing this, we would say every 4 or 5 years, you want to relook at your value proposition because it's probably time for an upgrade. How do you know? If you find that your customer is probably not who you thought they were or have evolved into a different customer set, if their needs, if you have a business that seems out of whack with what's going on today after COVID-19, because remember, we're not going to get out of COVID-19 and go back to 2019. There are going to be some long-term impacts. Are you responding to that? Are you communicating in the way that your target wants you to communicate? For instance, are you where your customer is? Are you still on Facebook and most of your target is now evolved to TikTok and Instagram? So those kinds of things are what you want to ask yourself when you're saying, is it time for a new value prop? If you're asking yourself, is it time for a new value prop? It probably is a good time to look at it.
We have a question from James, and was asking for your thoughts on what might be highlighted in a value proposition for an online mental health care service. Do you have any examples or thoughts?
Well, online mental health, really, you would assume that people are in the home, so you can, highlight that. You may want to target what's going on with mental health now in the time of isolation. I think it's such a topical area that there could be a lot of things that you can tap into, and you really have to more tap into the emotional factors of the mental health, because of course mental health is hugely emotional. So you can't really talk about it without tapping into some emotional points, but also a path forward. So how do you show them, I understand what you're going through right now, but this is a path forward. And I would say 20% pain point, 80% resolve it, or show a path to resolution.
Okay, that's great. Here's one from Tracy, which I think Sue actually ties into your next webinar. And so we'll let you maybe say some brief thoughts, but what exactly do you mean by thought leadership? And Tracy, just so you know, we do, Sue is doing a webinar exactly on this topic on thought leadership on the 25th of March. So you might want to put that on your calendar, but I'll let Sue say a few brief comments now.
Yeah, sure. Thought leadership is at its core, it's making you a subject matter expert in your industry, in your field. Where you have thought leadership is how you arrange it and how you communicate and your positioning to set you up as the subject matter expert in your field, as the thought leader in your field. So let's go back to the accounting example, accountant in Norwalk, right? How do you set yourself up as a thought leader for being an accountant in Connecticut, right? So there are social media tactics you can use. There are specific things you can say. The number of times that you're out there publicly, you're giving speeches, you're talking to organizations, you're connecting with people, you're networking, right? All of those build into becoming a thought leader in your field. And thought leaders, remember, you can, if you have a consulting business especially, you can charge more and you can pay less for marketing because you're known as the thought leader.
Excellent. We have one from Stephen, and it says, how about competitor research web suggestions in luxury hospitality? Do you have any?
I would, in luxury, the competitive research, for luxury hospitality, I don't know specifically. I would go onto BuzzSumo and test some search terms. Go onto Google and test some search firms. Luxury hotel in whatever geography you're in, right? High-end hotel, or whatever search terms that you think your customer is using to find you, certain things are going to pop up, right? Companies are going to pop up, and do a one-by-one competitive analysis on whatever pops up when you type that in. So that would be my top suggestion.
That's great. We do have a few more questions, but we also have lots of time. So just a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question for Sue, please type it in the chat box and we'll take as many as we can. Our next one is from Ginny. Is your value proposition synonymous with a mission statement?
No, but it's very related. A mission statement is really more inward looking. So it's for you and your employees. Why do we exist? What are we here for? For the mental health. We're here to ensure that our clients get the best online mental health virtually, right? So that is internal focused. A value proposition is externally focused to the market. How can we convince you, our target audience, that we can provide you the best mental health. All right, so the value prop is a set of benefits that is targeted to your potential customer. A mission statement is more a reason to believe for you and your sales staff and employees. Very tightly tied, but a bit of a different variation on that.
Okay, that's great. There, you answered a question from James a little earlier on mental health business. So you had a follow up. Their working value proposition is we make it easy for you to access effective treatments easily and securely. Do you have any comments on that working value proposition?
Well, yeah, I mean, while it's probably true, I'd like to see it tap into the emotional factors a little bit more. You know, the emotion, you know, you're having a problem, we help you get over it. You know, what is the next step of, you know, the evolution or something like that? I would really, you know, I think your value prop is probably a fact, but bring it more towards, we give you the best night's sleep you've ever gotten, right? It kind of elicits a different emotion, especially when you're dealing with mental health. You want to see hope, you know, hope-based solutions, or, you know, something that we're helping you see the path forward now, or something like that. I think that might resonate emotionally more with your clients.
Perfect. We have another one here on, do you use your value proposition / position statement to create slogans or taglines for your company?
Yeah. Tagline is perfect. You definitely, your value prop leads into your tagline, leads into your positioning statement. And again, that drives what's written on your website, right? How your social media posts, what do your blogs say? What is your video presence, right? What do you write about? What do you talk about? All ties to your value prop. It should all go seamlessly and be very connected.
Totally agree with that. Let me see, we have another one here. As a startup in research consulting, I'm competing with large research companies that are well established. How do I make myself stand out with a value proposition?
You know, have you done research for your own research company? Say, what is the most, you know, important things people want out of research? And I can tell you, you know, I've worked with a lot of research company, and maybe you can, I'm looking for a research company, so maybe you can email me and we can work together. So what do you want? You know, what does a company want in research, right? They want actionable insights. They don't want to spend a ton of money because they know that if they have a large research, or if they hire a large research organization, it's going to cost them a lot more. They want impactful suggestions and experience in the field. So all of those are theories of what do people want out of a research company of your size. And you can do your own research and see what resonates. And that's how, I mean, those are the theories of what people come up with. But, you know, and do you have a specific target for your research? Are you targeting small companies in the area? Are you targeting startups? Are you targeting innovations, or you know, a particular industry? So so that would be something else to consider. What is important to your specific target? But if you email me, I'll be happy to brainstorm it with you. That's
great. Doesn't look like we have any other questions, but I would like to also reiterate that we've had a number of questions that are fairly specific in nature. So you can get follow-up by contacting Sue with the info that's on the screen right now. Actually, we do have a couple last questions, so we have time, so we'll take them.
Okay.
We have a question here on, as a small business selling clothes via e-commerce with a small budget, what would your marketing suggestion be?
Well, it depends on really how much work you've done already. So if you've already identified your target, if they're high-end clothes or more value-oriented clothing, if they are, still focused on casual clothes or more upscale clothes, special occasions, weddings versus, working out in the garden or something like that, it's very different. So you would have to say, I would have to know what kind of clothes you're selling, what your emotional visualization with the clothes are, because people wear clothes for different things, right? I mean, if I want to buy clothes to garden in, I don't want to just think about durability. You can wash it, the dirt comes out. I want to think about a beautiful garden, and this is my home, and I'm so proud of it, and I can pick my own tomatoes and make have uh, my own salad or something like that, right? So the emotional connection with the clothing is the most important thing. If it's a high-end clothing store, when you can get out and about, isn't it time to refresh your look? Something like that, right? So the emotional connection with the clothes, why you would wear the clothes, I think is more important than say, like 100% silk, right? So I would urge you to think about what your clients are wearing the clothes for, and that should work itself into the value proposition.
Okay, that's great. That was a very good Q&A session. And again,
Great.
if you would like more from Sue, feel free to reach out directly. Just as a reminder, a couple of people asked in the chat, the webinar has been recorded and the materials will be posted on our website within about 48 hours. And you can go there at fairfieldcounty.score.org and access that webinar on demand. Our next live webinar will be tomorrow, just as a reminder, Tuesday, March 16th at noon. And the topic is Instagram for your business with Nalini Gulzaran presenting. And again, if you want to take advantage of our free individual counseling, Sue, if I could get you to move to the last slide, you can click on that link that you see on the screen there, the bit.ly link, or you can go to our website and request a mentor, and you'll be able to get help individually free help individually from a SCORE mentor. Lastly, if I could ask you to fill out your evaluations at the end of the webinar, that would greatly help us going forward. And in closing today, a big thank you to Sue Yasav for presenting, and stay well, everyone, and have a great day.
Okay, take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Bye-bye.